Should you buy Marvel's Spider-Man in 2022? Honestly, I debated whether to even review Spider-Man. I mean, it's Spider-Man, but Spider-Man recently came to PC, so I thought if there was ever a time to talk about Spider-Man on this channel, it's gonna be right now. All of the footage you're seeing is from the PC version of Spider-Man with no mods installed. As much as I wanted to install some stupid mods, I chose not to, so I don't mislead any of you if I was chilling in the symbiote suit or Black Cat for some reason looked different. Please don't judge me. We'll be talking about the story, combat, stealth, side content, and of course that sweet Traversal, which is still awesome, but I have a hot take when it comes to swinging. We'll get to that. Let's get into this, and thank you for watching, as always. Spider-Man's story is, well, awesome, but far from flawless. When Spider-Man originally released back in 2018, there was no end to the praise of the story, some saying it's one of the best Spider-Man stories told, and while I think it's pretty great, there are definitely things I don't personally like. Character work is fantastic. I don't have any issues with the story in that regard. This is one of my favourite interpretations of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and that was to be expected when you have Yuri Lowenthal doing the voice work. I mean, you've got Sasuke Uchiha playing Spider-Man. That's just really awesome. Every character is extremely likable. MJ, Miles, Aunt May, hell, even Norman Osborn gets some decent character moments, but the standout, and I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, so click off if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever. 3, 2, 1. Otto Octavius is the best character in this story. His development throughout the game is pretty much perfect, especially due to the writers knowing we aren't stupid. This guy is gonna be Doc Ock, so they played into that and did a stand-up job making him into a wonderfully tragic character you can't help but sympathize with. He is extremely well written and provides some of the best moments throughout this fairly short story. This game, if you ignore the side content, the story itself is only like 10 hours, something like that. Probably less. Mr. Negative and the rest of the villains are significantly weaker though. The Negative was a massive missed opportunity. We barely get any time with his positive side apart from 1 or 2 cutscenes, which results in the loss of character development that we got from characters like Doc Ock. He shouldn't have been revealed in the trailers, that's for sure. I have no idea why they did that, especially since the cutscene is actually changed in the game, and he should have been built up slowly, but overall his character just felt really rushed and wasted because it really just felt like they needed a villain to be in the first 2 acts, and that was it. They chose Mr. Negative so they could bring in Doc Ock later, which was just, I don't know, it just felt really rushed. I really hope we get to see more of him in Spider-Man 2, but at this point, he should just be pushed to the side for whatever they're planning for Spider-Man 2. I'm really looking forward to it. I just want some gameplay. That D23 gaming conference, what was that, guys? That was awful. That was just a terrible conference or showcase or whatever. The other villains get barely any screen time, so there isn't much to talk about. Got Scorpion, Rhino, Electro, Vulture were all thrown in during the final act and are nothing but boss fights, which is unfortunate, but I get it. Your last act has to be big, and they went big, but I do think they should have saved the Sinister Six for a full game rather than rushing them all in a 2-hour final act. That was one of the biggest criticisms that I saw when the game originally released. Sinister Six was definitely rushed, and I just don't think they should have done that unless they're planning to create a whole new, like, unique, original, like, villain arsenal for this specific Spider-Man, which would be pretty damn cool, but if they don't do that, Sinister Six, wasted. The plot is also a little all over the place. One minute you're fighting Mr. Negative, and then the next, a whole new plot point is just thrown at you, and now you're doing something completely different with no real build-up apart from Doc Ock. It's such a weird issue with the writing, because everything else was so streamlined and so just to the point, and then halfway through the game everything just kind of just stops and is replaced with something completely different. I don't really understand that. I mean, they built up one of the plot points, which was well, it's not really a spoiler because everyone knows about it, the Devil's Breath, the virus, whatever. They built that up with Oscorp, but other than that, the rest of it, the villains, it was all built up in side content with the backpacks, and you had to listen to all the dialogue when you get the backpacks. I just feel like it could have been more streamlined, and it could have been built up a little bit better. Other than those issues, I have nothing else to criticize really. Spider-Man wraps up pretty much perfectly, resulting in one of my personal favorite Spider-Man stories despite the rushed villains and some of the best interpretations of Spider-Man characters I've watched or played. Those MJ missions suck though, we will talk about them soon. Combat in Spider-Man is so damn cool. Think Batman Arkham, but with way more verticality and much more simplicity. Combat involves webbing up your enemies and beating the absolute crap out of them, throwing them off rooftops, blasting them with web bombs, using finishers, and just so much more. This is one of the best combat systems I have played. It's just awesome and almost flawless. Sure, it's super easy and could use a bit more enemy variety, but all in all, the foundation for the future is just unlimited, really. Spider-Man 2 just needs to expand on this system. It's all about not getting hit. You'll be jumping all around streets, construction sites, underground, as well as on top of giant skyscrapers. You have quite a few gadget choices, but you can only equip one at once, which is why I said it's more simple than the Arkham games. You get a wheel selection for any gadgets you want to use, but unfortunately you don't really have many options to combine these gadgets. Sure, you could use a web bomb and then blast them with the weird wind gadget thing that blows enemies away, but other than that, there really isn't much else to really sink your teeth into when it comes to combining different gadgets, which is where the Arkham games really shine, especially Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, you can do some really cool stuff. Once you learn the gadgets, that's about it though. You're done. There's no light or heavy attacks or any real combos you can pull off. You can send enemies up vertically and slam them on the ground with webs and all that, but the combat system could really benefit with more combo options from hand-to-hand stuff rather than just focusing on webs, which, to be clear, I don't have an issue with webs being a vocal point of the combat system. I think that would be ludicrous to complain about in a Spider-Man game, but I really do want to see more inspiration from games like Web of Shadows. Imagine combining the gadget selection of Spider-Man PC, well, Spider-Man PlayStation, Spider-Man PS4, it doesn't really matter, with Web of Shadows combat system. That would just be a perfect Spider-Man game for me, but I've always had a soft spot for those over-the-top beat-em-up games, so I may be in the minority. What we have here though is fantastic, and I've played through Spider-Man so many times I've lost count, and the combat system still remains just as entertaining as it was back in 2018. But man, having mouse and keyboard this time around it's game changing. It's so smooth, I really like it, it's so damn good. Enemies are dumb, and I know I always make a big deal about AI, so I can't ignore that here. The AI is super stupid. Sure, you don't need good AI to sell a game like Spider-Man, but my god, are they dumb. They're dumb, they're slow, and, you know, they're just bots. I mean, obviously, they are bots. They are literally bots, but it feels like they're bots, which is not something that really happened in Arkham games. They felt a bit more natural. They don't feel like people. That's my point. They don't really feel like people. Spider-Man is way too easy, and that's a fact. Even on ultimate difficulty, it just makes the enemy slightly spongier, so yeah, it's way too easy, and the sequel needs to have better difficulty options. Stealth sections in Spider-Man are really bad. It's incredibly easy, and once again, the AI is just awful. You just hop in, web a guy up, and move on. Enemies will stare at their webbed up mates and go, "Oh my god, Spider-Man's here!" and then go back to whatever they were doing. It was just mind-numbing, to be honest. I really don't want to talk about the stealth anymore because it's bare bones boring. Metal Gear Solid, this is not. And I mean, once again, the web gadgets are pretty cool, but it's just animation after that. I want more control over how I tackle stealth sections. Let us manually pull webs or shoot a web and hold the trigger and yank them up to us. Let us do it. Stop making it an animation. Let us control the stealth. Let us individually control webs and just use the analog stick to drag them around or web them up. Hell, maybe even let us web specific parts of enemies up. Like, if there's a group of enemies, let's say 3 enemies, and you want to take them out silently, rather than just luring one away, let us shoot 2 webs at the enemy's face to stop them from screaming, because they'll be webbed up, their mouth will be webbed up, while you stealth take down the other guy, and then you've got a set amount of seconds to take out the other 2 before they start screaming for their mates. Doesn't that sound awesome? Doesn't that sound like we haven't seen anything like that in a Spider-Man game? And for the budget we've got, well, hopefully for the sequel, I really want to see some more control over stealth, more control over where we can place the webs, more control of how we can manipulate the enemies. I really want more control. Spider-Man is perfect for stealth, but, you know, there's only so much we could do. Okay, the MJ missions. The MJ missions are really bad, as well as the Miles missions, apart from one with the Rhino. The MJ missions are really bad. Actually, you know, it's not even some, it's the worst stealth I've ever experienced. It is terrible. It is linear, you don't have a choice in how you tackle things, it's boring, it's on rails, that's what it is, it's on rails. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, because we all know that it's terrible. I feel like Insomniac added it in the last month of development. It's that bad. It's really bad. That's all I'm going to say. There's nothing positive about it. Don't put it in the sequel. Or at least just improve it, please, Insomniac. Don't make us play it again. Side content is actually as Ubisoft as it gets, unfortunately, but it's the best of Ubisoft. You collect things, clear out enemy bases, and do side missions that usually involve Taskmaster, Kingpin, or Harry Osborn, and all of those side content, all of it is just, it's just bleh, it's just bleh. It's alright, it's nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing awful, it's nothing memorable. I do think maybe going down the Arkham Knight route, offering a selection of lesser known villains to take on throughout the side content would be a better option to get more people invested into the side stuff, because I wasn't. I've played this kind of content for over a decade now, I'm just Spider-Man this time. Definitely want to see some better side content in Spider-Man 2, but hey, we'll see, may not be a priority. What can I say that hasn't already been said? Yeah, this traversal system is fantastic, arguably the best traversal system in a game, period, but of course that depends on what you want from a travel system. Are you more of an Assassin's Creed guy who wants realistic parkour or free running, or do you just want some crazy fast movement like Spider-Man or Titanfall, etc. That's all personal preference, but there is no denying this is one of the best traversal systems ever made. The web swinging is smooth. While automated, unfortunately, the parkour is cool, the wall running is great, the interactivity with environments is also awesome. Like, there's nothing negative to say apart from one thing, and that's the automation. It is far too easy to swing. And I know, well, it's a kid's game, Jack. This isn't fucking Elden Ring web swinging. And I know that, but the automation and the lack of fall damage is why this swinging system is not my favourite. That still belongs to Spider-Man 2, and that's my hot take. I prefer Spider-Man 2 swinging on the PS2 and GameCube simply because of that. I need that fall damage, I need that control over my swinging, the pendulum, the pendulum effect, the physics. I need that to get that real feeling of swinging. And I know a lot of people don't need that, and I get it. Insomniac are trying to go for the widest audience possible, but I need that pendulum, I need that control to get the proper feeling of swinging. Do you understand what I mean? Hopefully, leave in the comments if you understand what I mean. So I hope in the sequel, we can get some sort of different control scheme or just a difficulty level for swinging that you can choose, just like Spider-Man 2. Just like Spider-Man 2. But once again, I know I'm probably in the minority here. It is a great game, guys. Spider-Man is a great game. It is the best Spider-Man game ever made, but for me, there are a few personal nitpicks that I wish was different, and the AI and stealth sucks. I do think you should buy Marvel's Spider-Man in 2022, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.